My main point after for this one is Texas Tech quarterback Baron Morton was completely outmatched. Just any way you put it, just severely outmatched in this one. He could not get any sort of offense going. Dan Lanning had him in a blender, man. Just had him seeing ghosts out there. I believe Morton finished with a 34 PFF grade, which is just says everything you need to know right there. Only managed 137 passing yards, 3 total turnovers. One was in the goal line that was just a backbreaking turnover that you could not have. Just a bad interception in the end zone that could have swung the game really if you scored. I believe it was still 13-0. Texas Tech had a chance to cut it to 13-7, and that turnover just completely, ended any momentum that they had, and it was over after that. Think that was forget what time in the game that exactly happened, but it was a backbreaking turnover, and after that they could not do anything. Morton was just the Oregon secondary just had him seeing ghosts all day. Mateo Uiagalelei strip fumble in the second half of the goal line. That was a quick play that got Oregon a walk-in touchdown on the very next play. Can't have things like those. Tatum Tuioti had two total sacks, so that was just a great game by him. And Texas Tech's defense played well enough to keep them in it. I want to stay true to my point I made last week that this still is the best. This is still the best defense in college football, in my opinion, and I still think they showed that yesterday. Nothing Texas Tech's defense did lost them the game. They really kept them in the game. The longest run they allowed all game was 9 yards. The longest run of the game for Oregon was still only 9 yards against this front seven of David Bailey and Romello Height. Those guys still ate all day. I believe Bailey still had over an 80 PFF grade. Ben Roberts and Jacob Rodriguez, the two linebackers, were still great for Texas Tech. Ben Roberts had one interception in the middle of the game that felt like it could have been a momentum shift, but ultimately Tech's offense was just unable to do anything for them. They really only had one explosive play that I can remember all game, and it was a 50-yard rush for Jacoby Williams very early on in the game that led to nothing. So it was weird. Like the first few drives they got the ball, 2 3-and-outs, 6 total plays run for the Texas Tech offense in the first quarter. And then they got like one 50-yard rush from Jacoby Williams in the second quarter. And then the drive stalled out, could not get anything more going. Dickey and Williams both could. So Williams finished with 81 yards on the ground. Dickey only had 29, and his longest rush was 9 yards. Credit to Dan Lanning and this Oregon defense for adjusting. That's the next point I want to make. Last point on the Texas Tech quarterback conundrum here. That was always going to be the question mark coming into this game. I don't know if you remember the preview episode last week. So I talked about I had picked Texas Tech to win it in my bracket to win the championship. So that can't happen anymore. Way off on that. But my only reasoning, my only question mark for their weakness was the quarterback Baron Morton. That was always going to be the question coming into this game, was if he could match Dante Moore, if he could keep up offensively with Dante Moore and company. And the answer was no. He could not keep up. He was significantly outmatched by this Oregon defense and this front seven, and it showed. I mean, like I said, 34 PFF grade, 3 turnover-worthy plays, just was not sharp all day. I do wonder how Will Hammond would have done and would have looked against Oregon, because he brings a little more as a rushing quarterback. Obviously, he tore his ACL against Oklahoma State, so he could not play. Like physically, it wasn't a question of availability. It's just he was out for the season. So I do wonder how Will Hammond would have looked, because he was the starting quarterback in their only loss this season, but that was to Arizona State in kind of a shootout. So Hammond did good in that game and played well when he was healthy. I think he had like a 90 PFF grade. So I'm curious of when Will Hammond can come back next year if he is going to be Texas Tech's next guy as the starter, or if they're going to go after one in the transfer portal, which the name I'm hearing is Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati, which they could have definitely used Brendan Sorsby yesterday against Oregon. Thought they would have had a way better shot. Thought they maybe could have won this game with Brendan Sorsby as their quarterback against Oregon. So I do think a guy like Sorsby coming from Cincinnati would help. We obviously knew what Brendan did for the Bearcats this season, was one of the best quarterbacks in America. And he is right now, he is currently ESPN's top-rated player in the transfer portal. Top-rated quarterback and top-rated player overall. So if Texas Tech can land Sorsby, which I'm hearing is the top rumor right now, that could be the piece they're missing. That could be the final piece they need to ultimately win a national championship in Lubbock, which is their goal. Because they were close this year. I mean, the defense was good enough to do it. It sort of just came down to Baron Morton not being able to compete with Dante Moore. I won't put it all on Morton. I don't think his receivers helped him out at all in this game. Caleb Douglas, their leading receiver, did not have a single catch. I believe he only had 3 targets in this game. He ran 39 routes and was out there for about, 39 total snaps, but did not catch a single pass. That just can't happen in the biggest game of the season. You can't have your top pass catcher go 0 for. He can't have 0 yards at the end of the day. Coy Eakin, their second receiver, only had 1 catch for 11 yards. The only guy who could get anything going was the tight end, Terrence Carter Jr., who had 9 catches for 72 yards. They were trying to force feed him the ball and just get any sort of offense going through him, which he managed to do as much as he could, just could not break enough tackles to get out in space. Reggie Virgil, who I really like, he has some insane body control at the catch point and makes some ridiculous catches. He had 2 catches in this game for 29 yards, but not much from Virgil as well. So when your top 3 leading receivers combine for 3 catches and 40 yards with the top guy, Douglas, not having any, that's a problem. And you're not going to win many football games that way, especially against a team like Oregon, who is just as good as it gets in the secondary, with Dylan Thieneman, who is making plays all over the field in this game. He was exceptional. 12 total tackles from him, 12 total tackles from Bryce Betcher.